Greetings everybody. I am Dr. Mudassir Mirza, Assistant Professor of Physiology, and today I am going to discuss structure of neuron and properties of nerve fiber. Each and every system contributes to maintenance of homeostasis, that is internal environment. Nervous system also does so by maintaining it and regulating it. The nervous system consists of neurons. The structural and functional units of the nervous system are neurons, which generate impulses in response to change in environment that are transmitted to target organ for appropriate control and regulation of homeostasis. As you can see here, the person is moving away the moment he come across a fire. The fire is the change in the environment, which for protection of the person he should move away. For this, the nerve impulses are generated when the person goes near the fire. You can see here it is going to the brain, and the brain sends appropriate signals to locomotor system to move away. So what are these neurons and what is its structure and what are its different properties? Today let us learn. The specific learning objectives of today's class are: at the end of the class, students should be able to describe the structure of neuron, enumerate and explain the properties of nerve fiber. Moving on. Now let us see the structure of a neuron. Basically, it is the structural and functional unit of nervous system. That is the definition of a neuron. It mainly consists of a cell body and the processes coming out of cell body, which are called as neurites. The neurites are of two types. The small processes are called as dendrites, and the long process is called as axon. Now coming to the cell body, the cell body consists of a cytoplasm which is surrounded by a cell membrane. Inside the cell membrane, we find several organelles like nucleus, mitochondria, and special bodies which are called as Nissls granules. These Nissls granules are modified endoplasmic reticulum which contain the machinery for the synthesis of neurotransmitters and also nerve growth factors, which contain the machinery for the nerve growth factors, the proteins which are required for nerve growth factor. Now, other than Nissls granules, it contains the microtubules which maintains the structure and shape of the cell body, which are called as neurofibrillae. Neurofibrillae are modified microtubules and microfilaments which are required for maintenance of shape and structure of a cell. In the same way, here also neurofibrillae maintain the shape and structure of the cell body. Now, this Nissls granules are present in dendrites whereas they are absent in axon. So in the axon consists of a single long process coming out from the cell, a nerve cell or cell body. It varies in length from few microns to few meters or sometimes up to 1 meter. It arises from a conical extension of the cell body which is called as hillock, axon hillock, which is called as axon hillock. The part of the axon between the axon hillock and uh, the beginning of a myelin sheath is called as initial segment. The cytoplasm present, the cell membrane present around the axon is called as axolemma. Axolemma. As we go down, we can see this axolemma, the covering membrane. It forms terminal buttons, which contain a lot of microvesicles, which are mainly concentrated granules containing a lot of neurotransmitters which are required for transmitting signal from one nerve to another nerve. Around this axon we can see that there is a myelin sheath. Now this myelin sheath consists of a protein lipid complex which is produced by glial cell called Schwann cells. You can see these are the Schwann cells. These are the Schwann cells which is producing myelin sheath. Now this myelin sheath actually it wounds around the axon several hundred times, which basically isolates one axon from the other axon. This myelin sheath acts as an insulation for passage of current. Now between each Schwann cell with myelin sheath, you can see there is a space which is devoid of myelin sheath. This is called as, these are called as nodes of Ranvier. Now these are these, and at these nodes of Ranvier we can find that a lot of electron channels are present. Electron channels or ion channels are concentrated near the nodes of Ranvier, so that the impulse jumps from one node of Ranvier to another node of Ranvier. How it occurs we'll see in the other part of my class. The important function of axon is to transmit the signal from one neuron to the other neuron. The dendrites here, they act as a receiving end of the impulses, and they receive the impulses and they concentrate the impulse, the signal, at the axon hillock, which transmits to other neuron via the axon. At the end of the axon, the terminal buttons, near the terminal buttons, they release the transmitter which transmits the signal from one neuron to the other neuron. That's all about the structure of a neuron. Now moving on to different types of neurons. Neurons, based on the axon present, they are classified as unipolar, which is having only one pole. Pseudo bipolar, here you can see from one the actually from axon hillock, the axon is splitting into two, that's why it is called as pseudo bipolar. Then this is a true bipolar, in which it has got two poles, two poles of axons on either sides, that's why it is called as bipolar axon. And then here you can see this axon, it has got several processes in different direction, which is called as multipolar neuron. Let us see the supporting cells present inside the nervous system. These are the other cells other than neurons. These are also called as glial cells. Glial cells are classified into macroglia and microglia. Macroglia are one which are called as fibrous astrocytes, and other which are protoplasmic astrocytes. Then there are oligodendrocytes and microglia. These are the supporting cells present in the nervous system. Moving on to the properties of nerve fiber, which is very important component of today's topic. The list of properties of nerve fiber are: number 1, excitability, strength duration relationship, all or none phenomena, refractory period, accommodation, summation, indefatigability, and conductivity. These are the list of properties. Now let us consider each and every property. Now let us see what is the first property of a neuron, that is excitability. It is a property by virtue of which the nerve responds by producing a nerve impulse when stimulated by a suitable stimuli, which could be thermal, mechanical, electrical, or chemical. The nerve impulse produced is called as action potential. What is the important function of a neuron? To transmit the impulse from one area to other area, or to transmit the signal from one region to other region, to transmit the proper appropriate information from one area to the other area. This passage of information is done in the form of nerve impulse, which propagates along the nerve along the membrane of the neuron. And this nerve impulse propagates as a uh, special potential, which is called as action potential. Now what is this action potential? Action potential is momentary reversal in the potential difference across the membrane of the neuron when it has been activated by threshold stimulus, which propagates as an impulse along the membrane with same intensity. So the signal propagates from the cell body to the nerve terminal with same intensity. Now, as this is a very momentary event, it has to be recorded with the help of equipment which has very less inertia. One such equipment is cathode ray oscilloscope. This cathode ray oscilloscope consists of a cathode ray and a screen, which is attached to a recording electrodes, and there is also a stimulator in it. When stimulus is given, we'll see the following phases. Before stimulus is given, the nerve is in resting phase. The potential of the membrane, potential across the membrane is in resting phase, which is called as resting membrane potential, which is about minus 70 millivolts. Then after giving the stimulus, we get a stimulus artifact, which you can see here at the point A. This is a stimulus artifact when stimulus is given. After stimulus is given, there is a latent phase. The phase between or the duration between the stimulus and beginning of the depolarization. Next, after the stimulus is given, it depolarizes slowly. Then it reaches a firing level. Now, what is the firing level? Firing level is the membrane potential across the membrane at which the depolarization progresses very fast, which is about minus 55 millivolts. After it progresses very fast, it depolarizes completely. That is, the potential inside the cell becomes more positive when compared to outside, which is about plus 35 millivolts. After it reaches this plus 35 millivolts, again the inside of the neuron starts becoming negative, which is called as repolarization phase, which is the phase between point C and point D. After that, it further repolarizes, which is the phase between D and point E, which is called as after depolarization. Beyond point E, the repolarization becomes more negative than the resting phase, which is called as hyperpolarization. So this phase between E to F is that hyperpolarization phase, which is called as after hyperpolarization phase. So these are the different phases of an action potential, which is the nerve impulse generated in a neuron, which helps in transmitting the signal from one point to the other point. Now let us see what are the ionic bases of this action potential. So initially, when the membrane is at rest, there is more negativity inside the membrane when compared to outside. So ECF is more positive and ICF is more negative. When impulse is given, it has got voltage gated sodium channel which opens. When the voltage gated sodium channel opens, there is influx of the sodium ions. When the sodium ions get inside, the negativity of the inside membrane becomes positive. The negativity of the membrane becomes positive. Now when this it becomes positive, the adjacent voltage gated channel which responds to change in the membrane potential opens up, and further influx of sodium ions occurs, and that's how the depolarization propagates, which is also called as Hodgkin cycle. So initially there is opening of sodium channel which depolarizes the membrane, which further opens the sodium channels and again depolarizes, and opening of the sodium channel and more membrane depolarization. It continues and continues till whole membrane of the neuron is completely depolarized. Now at the end of depolarization, there starts the rapid efflux of potassium. When the efflux of potassium occurs, again the membrane becomes more negative inside when compared to outside. That's how the repolarization occurs. So depolarization occurs by influx of the sodium and repolarization occurs by efflux of the potassium, which is more inside the cell. This is how the depolarization and repolarization of the membrane occurs, which generates a action potential which acts as a nerve impulse to transmit the signal from one point to the other point. Now let us see the other components of the important property excitability. As I have said, it generates an action potential when a threshold stimulus is given. So it obeys a all or none phenomena. Only when threshold stimulus is given, it responds in a all manner. It responds. And if a subthreshold stimulus is given, it fails to respond. There is a non-response. So that is the all or none phenomena, which states that only a threshold stimulus can elicit a response, all response, and subthreshold stimulus fails to elicit a response, that is non-response or no response. And when supra-threshold stimulus is given, the response is same, that is all response provided experimental conditions are same for a neuron. Another component which is observed in a neuron as its property is the strength duration curve. Strength when a proper strength of stimulus is given, which is called as a Rio base. When a Rio base, a small amount of uh, stimulus is given, which is measured in terms of volts, when it is given, it responds. It gives a response by generating an action potential. When it responds, the time required for the nerve to give response is called as utilization time. And there is another time which is called as chronaxy, which is time required for the stimulus of double the Rio base strength to produce a response. What is Rio base? It is a minimal strength of the stimulus to generate a response. Double the Rio base, the time taken by the neuron to initiate a response is called as chronaxy. So this is the measure of excitability. Chronaxy is less for a neuron. That is, it means it is highly excitable tissue. When compared to muscle, it is more or better excitable. Now coming to the another property of excitability, that is refractory period. The refractory period of the neuron is the brief period during which neuron is not excitable for a second stimulus, which is called as refractory period. It is divided into absolute refractory period and relative refractory period. Absolute refractory period is a time during which whatever amount of stimulus is given for whatever duration, the neuron never responds. Whereas refractory period is a duration during which if a suprathreshold stimulus is given at a high frequency, it might generate a response which falls in the later half of repolarization. Absolute refractory period falls during the depolarization phase and early part of repolarization, as you can see here. And relative refractory period falls in the later part of repolarization or during after depolarization phase of the action potential. Next important property demonstrated by a neuron is accommodation. This is the phenomena of decrease in excitability of a nerve when a constant current passes through it. When it means that when a current passing through a neuron is constant, that is, if we pass a 10 millivolt current through a neuron, if we give a stimulus, initially there would be a response. After some time, same 10 millivolts if we are giving, it won't respond. Why? Because there is constant current passing to it. There is no change. And neuron is a structure which detects the change. So whenever there is change in the voltage, only then it gets excited. If if it is getting a constant current and not getting a change of current, it doesn't give any response. It accommodates to that current or stimulus, which is called as accommodation. So accommodation is a phenomenon of decrease in excitability of nerve when constant current passes through it. And the phenomena is summation. So before going to summation, there are sub-threshold stimuli. Stimuli can be divided into three types. One is threshold stimulus, which is the adequate stimulus to generate action potential. Another one is subthreshold and suprathreshold. Subthreshold stimulus are again divided into catalectronic and anelectronic stimuli. Catalectronic stimuli are the stimuli generated at the cathode, which are graded stimuli. The response seen or the voltage change in the voltage across the membrane seen in a graded manner in accordance with the stimuli given, which is less than the threshold stimulus. Okay, and this subthreshold stimulus fails to elicit any response, or this graded stimuli, they fail to generate any response in the tissue. But when a subthreshold stimulus are applied in a quick succession at a high frequency, they add up or they sum up to a firing level to generate a action potential. For example, if we take 10 millivolts is the threshold stimulus, 9 would be subthreshold stimulus. When 9 and 9 subthreshold stimulus are applied very quickly at a high frequency, the 9 and 9 would add up to 18 and would give a response. This is called as summation, and this summation is temporal summation, which is summating with time at a high frequency. The stimuli, they summate to a higher level beyond 10, which is the threshold stimulus for the neuron, and gives a response. That is a summation. Now moving on to another property, that is indefatigability. The nerve fiber never fatigues even when the stimuli is applied for a long time. Next property of the neuron is conductivity. The propagation of nerve impulse along the membrane in the form of wave of depolarization is called as conductivity. It is of two types. Orthodromic, that is conducting from the cell body to the nerve terminal, is called as orthodromic, and propagation of nerve impulse from the nerve terminal towards the cell body is called as antidromic. Now, there is a difference between the how conduction of impulse occurs in non-myelinated and myelinated fibers. In myelinated fibers, you can see when the stimulus is given, adjacent the nerve the ion channels are present adjacent to each other. So the adjacent voltage gated sodium channel get activated when the depolarization wave is passing, and subsequently the wave of depolarization passes along the nerve in a continuous manner. When an appropriate stimulus is applied at this end, you can see here in the non-myelinated fiber, the polarity reverses. That is, the inside becomes positive and outside becomes negative. Now, both ECF and ICF are very good conductors of ions. Now, what happens is the positivity, the negativity outside and positivity inside also stimulates the neighboring sodium ion channels or activates them to the threshold level, and the neighboring area also gets depolarized. That is how from one point to the other point the wave of action potential or depolarization progresses by depolarizing the neighboring area. This type of propagation is also called as electrotonic propagation of nerve impulse. You can see here it is transmitting. Now what happens in myelinated fiber? The myelinated fiber myelin sheath acts as a insulation. It does not allow the current to pass. Now what happens here is at the nodes of Ranvier there is high concentration of ion channels. Now these ion channels are the voltage gated channels which allow influx of sodium and efflux of potassium for proper depolarization and repolarization, which are the components of action potential. Now what happens in myelinated fiber is what happens in the myelinated fiber is the axonal membrane in the naked area bears a densely packed ion channels. The myelin sheath acts as a insulator. Here the myelin sheath acts as a insulator and does not allow the current to flow. Therefore, in myelinated nerve fiber, the local circuit of current flow only occurs from one node of Ranvier to an adjacent node of Ranvier. As you can see here, the impulse is jumping from this point to this point, not in the middle. Okay, so the impulse jumps from one node of Ranvier to next node of Ranvier. This is called as saltatory conduction. Saltatory means jump. So the nerve impulse is conducted in the form of saltatory or jumping manner. Since the impulse jumps from one node to another node, the speed of conduction is very high in myelinated fibers when compared to non-myelinated fibers, which you will be learning in subsequent classes. That's all. To summarize, the neuron is a structural and functional unit of the nervous system which helps in transmitting the impulses from one area to another area. It consists of a cell body and And the neurites are of two types, dendrites and the axon. Dendrites are the area which receive the impulses, whereas axon is the area which either gives away the, generally it acts as an output of the neuron, and it has following properties, that is excitability, it obeys all or none phenomena, it is better excitable, it has a refractory period which could be divided into absolute and relative refractory period, and it shows summation of the impulses, threshold stimuli or subthreshold stimuli. It also shows accommodation to a continuous monotonous same stimuli, and then it shows conductivity and indefatigability. That's all. Any questions, any queries, please put it in the comment box, or you can also and you can also put in the uh, telegram group which we have got. Please answer the assignment which is given to you after this class. Thank you.